Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So today's upload is going to be a video about just a upcoming pattern, what's to expect. There really isn't a major snowstorm in its making, for Wednesday, Thursday. Seems like we could be getting a pretty large system. The track is yet to be determined, the strength is yet to be determined. It's just some models are hinting at a rather significant system early or late next week, so Friday, Saturday, so about a week from today, which is just ridiculously far out for models. But there has been some consistency, so we could talk a little bit about that. But I'll also talk about different things, as it's just not worthy of to talk about a one system for a whole video. Especially since it's a week out. So let's just talk about just the pattern in general and what's to expect. But before we do, if you'd like to subscribe to this channel, consider doing so. This channel is rather quickly growing, and we are building up a fan base of weather watchers, and it's really has changed my life. So I'm thrilled to see so many people love the weather, almost 17,000. So if you could get that amount anytime soon, that would be amazing. If you're a consistent viewer, consider liking the video. If you're new, consider checking out the channel and see if the channel is worthy of a subscription. If not, perfectly fine. So let's look at the GFS model and see what it's showing. So by the way, there will be a system, and this system has been going on for days. Quite a bit of locations across northern Missouri really got the heaviest of the snowfall yesterday. Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, they got 1 to 3, maybe mostly 1 to 2 inches, so it wasn't big. But portions across northern Missouri got up to almost 7 inches based on snowfall reports that have come in. So that was pretty, rather a pleasant surprise for those locations. It wasn't expected to be that much there. But other locations underperformed, kind of like in locations like Chicago. Not as much snowfall fell. However, if you live across the Chicagoland area, you have a winter advisory right now, and there's going to be a deformation band that's going to form from its low pressure that's going to be centered across southern Michigan, and basically 3 to 6 inches is expected across northern Illinois, extending from basically the Mississippi River all the way to the lake. Could be the heaviest amounts in there, and into northern southern Wisconsin as well. So this is what the radar looks as of right now. I use WGN radar, and notice that there is the low pressure is basically centered across southern Indiana, right somewhere in this region. And you can see there's a very light snow that dropped a bunch of snow across Missouri yesterday. It's now all the way across Minnesota, Iowa, and kind of pushing to the west, but it's basically dying stages. However, we have a resurgence of moisture from here, and notice how this is just pouring into portions, or will be pouring into portions of Wisconsin and Illinois into the hours to come. Notice that we have quite a bit of moisture, so that's definitely a good thing. And it seems like this deformation band will start getting cranking across these locations. Let's look at the GFS though and see what's to come in the future. So this storm passes through, not too much for the northeast really. The temperatures have been a little bit warmer than expected. However, there's a surprise that I want to tell you about those people living in the northeast. Just stay tuned. Just stay tuned for now. Notice that we are looking at some chillier conditions. Really, it's not, I wouldn't say chillier than average. It's going to be slightly above average, though it's not going to be heat wave. It's going to be marginally above average, 3 to 4 degrees across much of the eastern U.S. And now the GFS will probably put it out as warmer if I were to look at that 2-meter temperature anomalies, and that is because it has just been doing a little bit of a too warm of a scenario, even for this snowstorm that's occurring right here, right now. What tells us, you can see, a lot of this, it's showing at rain across Wisconsin and Illinois will be falling as snow. So the GFS was the worst model for this system. It was just atrocious. But the other models did a fairly good job. However, again, the GFS has a little bit too warm of a scenario, but I'm definitely not saying that there will be cold conditions this week, it seems. Notice we have a lot of systems coming in from the northwest. So in the northwest, you'll be getting a lot of mountain snow and a lot of rain in the lower elevations. So if you were to look at this, notice that it just continues slamming parts of Idaho, Montana, Oregon, and into Wyoming, in parts of Utah, Nevada, and Northern California. We have a small system that could track across the southern U.S. Tuesday, Wednesday. Really just light rain, light snow, maybe a little bit of, light rain, light showers, maybe a little bit of light snow to the north across Kentucky, Tennessee. That's a little bit tough to see what's going to happen at this point. Doesn't seem like it will do much. Maybe a little bit across Virginia and across the Chicago area. Just some light stuff, right? Then we start getting really interesting. So we take energy from a Pacific storm that tracks on from the Pacific, goes through the mountains, and then we have a low pressure that forms around the northern, extreme northern, basically southern U.S., north central Mexico, and southern west, southwestern central United States. Kind of a weird location, basically on the Rio Grande River. And notice that this low pressure takes up a lot of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, it just sits here for a while, and we have actually an Arctic front that comes through at the same time on Saturday, February 1st, and we have a storm that happens as well over here. And notice, look at this, what it does here. It basically puts a lot of snow across Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Detroit would see a lot of this, Cleveland would see some out of this, and it's a pretty big system, right? Now, this is the first model from the GFS that really shows the system in such a progressive, large stance. If we were to look at the temperatures, look at that, below average conditions all the way up into Florida. This cold shot of air would really be what would, again, promote a lot of that snow. The GFS, again, kind of not really showing that cool shot as well as it could be. But there will be, relatively chillier air and even a little bit of cold air at this time of the year does a lot. So let's look at some previous model runs from the GFS and see if that storm, showed up earlier. You could see that it did. In fact, it did, but it was across the East Coast. You could see it was a pretty strong one, right? So which one is it going to be? I have a feeling right now that it's going to be more eastward, as the European model has been showing some signs of this system as well. Now, frankly, it's very far out, so we're literally, the storm could track and hit portions of Detroit, Cleveland, in northern Indiana, all these locations with heavy snow. Should draw a bigger map. It's really, really big. Or it could track across the East Coast and hit a lot of these locations. So, this storm may not even form by itself. It may be, a weaker system, may be pretty weak. It may not even form, but I'm just showing you this storm just to show you that the potential for storms is definitely not gone. It's still there. And if you were to look at the European, look how much snow it puts out for the Northeast. Just puts out ridiculous amounts with this system. Boston seeing over a foot, New York City seeing over 1.5 feet with that system. Or so that would be a lot. Upstate New York as well seeing snow. Let's look at the surface map and precipitation. And if I were to show you the European, it's been showing this storm in a relatively same position for the past 2 model runs. So this is interesting. We'll have to see what it does. But again, look, so we get that little smaller system across the southern U.S. The European takes it further off to the south and just puts it out into the Gulf of Mexico, and then we see that again that energy from this Pacific system transferred to the southern U.S. and really just it sits here for even longer time than what the GFS does, moves up the eastern coast as a cold front is coming through with a weak clipper-like system, and then look, the snow just explodes. Very, very heavy snow. This would be on a weekend, most likely Sunday, Saturday. Very extremely heavy snow. Connecticut, Massachusetts, New York, Pennsylvania seeing very heavy snow, and obviously those amounts would just be beyond ridiculous. Those amounts would be, up to a foot and a half, maybe 2 feet. Again, I'm just not showing you the snowfall amounts to be like, oh, hey guys, look, this is gonna happen for sure. We're a week out, and I know this is gonna happen. No, at this point, it's basically me telling you that there's a chance for a system next week. Keep your eyes on it over the next couple of days. I would completely be not surprised if this system, falls apart. And I would actually be more surprised if this system holds itself together, especially since the models have been so inconsistent. But we'll see. I'll keep updating you guys in the next couple of days as these systems change a lot. As of now, there is just some snow chances for the Northeast. That's what I'm going to leave it as. If we were to look at parts of the GFS, look at it. So it puts in that little cold air mass, right? It seems like a ridge is coming, a big ridge all the way into southern Canada. It may warm things up quite significantly, but then look, right after that, we just get cold waves, cold wave after cold wave, and as soon as that cold wave passes through, we get another resurgence around February 7th. We get some colder air coming down all the way into Florida, and then we just get a potentially polar vortex coming through. Wait, sorry. Well, yeah, this is the 6Z GFS, and you can see we have beginnings of a pretty strong polar vortex-like thing going on right there. And if we were to look at the newer model run, again, supportive of that, extremely supportive. So let's take a look at the newer model, and again, we are looking at that big system possibly next week. Wherever it tracks, it brings in a pretty good dose of chillier air. You can see right there. Again, we see another blast of chillier air across midweek next week. Not this upcoming, but next week. And then you can see, we get another one. We get another system possibly according to the GFS, and we get another blast of very chilly air, which digs on way into the southern U.S. So Winter may seem like it has been pretty crummy, pretty, I guess, not so good for many locations across the Northeast, but it's definitely making, a comeback winter, and we'll have to see how that occurs. So basically for the Northeast, I would say elevated snow chances. There's some, obviously a couple of storms that may be hitting your location. The Midwest, I would say, also you don't get off guard. There looks to be pretty active as well. Pacific Northwest, plenty of activity. Southwest, not so much really at this point. But the Northern Plains, I would also say, not looking too favorable for heavy snows. However, some Clipper-like systems may be occurring in 1 to 3 inch events. Also, if you live in the Northern Plains, and I know you started off pretty strong this year, and it looks like if you'll finish pretty strong. Most of the snow in the Northern Plains, the big, juicy systems happen probably, late February, early March, and into early and late April. Last year, I think we saw a couple of historic systems across the Northern Plains, which I think will be pretty similar this year as well. So, don't be worried. The Northern Plains will get their fair share of snow. It's time for the Northeast now, and it looks as if there's some remarkable highlights of, some possible snow and cold heading towards those locations. So thank you guys so much for watching. Consider liking the video. Consider subscribing to this channel. I really appreciate you guys watching this video. And I love you. See you guys in the next episode. See ya. Bye.